Hey, are you getting ready to shoot a video or something? As a matter of fact, I am. Why? You want to make fun of me? Tell me how my videos are stupid? No, not at all. Really? No jokes or anything. Dude, I promise I was just asking a question. I'm actually interested. Tell me, what's the video about? Well, I was actually gonna talk about how to edit a conversation between two or more people. Oh, really? That sounds interesting. Interesting is what I was gonna say. Now, why is that so important? Well, there are ways to cut conversations that make things sound natural and fluid, and if you don't do those things, then your conversations are gonna sound, well, the opposite of that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. What kind of tips are you gonna give? Well, for starters, I was gonna talk about using J-cuts and L-cuts. Hey, isn't J-cuts the name of your channel membership community where you give away free presets and monthly live editing trainings and all that kind of stuff? Well, yeah, it is, but that's not the kind of J-cut I'm talking about here. Well, yeah, I know, it just, maybe you should put a link to that in the description or something? Yeah, I will. Just, do you want to know about J-cuts and L-cuts or not? Right, sorry. How did J-cuts and L-cuts help? Well, when you cut to another person in a conversation before or after the first person is done talking, it's almost as if you're sitting there watching two people have a conversation. Basically, you want to make cuts where you would naturally turn your head, which is usually while the first person is talking in order to get the other person's reaction, or slightly after the next person starts talking. It's never right when the talking starts. Right. That makes perfect sense. If you just, cut each person's lines and butted them up next to each other, it wouldn't sound like a real conversation at all. Right? It's the little things that make all the difference. I can see that. So what else you got? Well, you know how when two people are talking, there's always some point where one person starts talking slightly before the first person stops talking? I do notice that. Sometimes it just seems like people aren't really listening. They're just, I don't know, waiting for their turn to talk? Exactly. Right, so in real life that's pretty rude, but when you're editing video and you begin one person's line slightly before the first person's line ends, it actually gives it a more fluid motion and makes it sound more natural. But you have to do it sparingly and in the right situations. For example, in a comedy bit or even in a bit where there's a really heated argument, you're gonna have that overlapping a lot. But if it's a really dramatic scene where you want to draw things out and really bring out the emotion, then you might actually want to have longer pauses between lines. Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense too. Wait, isn't that how you cut your videos even though you're the only person on camera? Actually, yeah, it is. Between those overlaps and cutting to B-roll and punching in and out, that's how I can keep the video flowing more smoothly and keep the audience's attention. Ah, clever. Now tell me, does this video have a sponsor? Puget Systems. Puget Systems, aren't they the guys that make custom PCs for video editors? That they are, but they don't just make PCs for video editors. They make them for video editors, photo editors, audio producers, engineers, VFX artists, gamers, you name it. Oh, nice. Yeah, and the cool part is instead of actually having to go to their website and try and figure out all the parts that you'll need, they have this whole consultation process where they'll sit down and listen to you talk about your workflow and all the things you're gonna need to do with your PC, and then they'll design a whole system based on your exact needs. They really take the guesswork out of the whole custom PC process. Very cool, but what if I wanted to build the computer myself? Could they help me out with that? Well, they can't sell you the individual parts, but if you're just looking for information as to what part would be best for your specific situation, they've got a blog where they've done all this benchmark testing for each of the components that they use in their PCs, and you can easily go on there and find all that information. So if you want to figure out what the best GPU for DaVinci Resolve is, they've got you covered. Awesome. So tell me, are you gonna go into the whole story about how you used to edit with a laptop and render times and performance were struggling because you wanted to do more in the editing process, and then Puget Systems came along and built you a beast of a PC and now everything's all better? Not this time. I think I'll stick with what I already said and just tell them to go to the link in the description to sign up for a free consultation. Fair enough. So what's next? What do you mean? Well, you've given us J-cuts and L-cuts. You've given us the whole overlapping the audio clips, and you know, I feel like you should at least have 3. Well, how about sound design? What about it? Well, no room is completely silent. There's always some kind of ambient noise, whether it be room tone or air conditioners or birds or traffic from outside. Yeah, right. I get that. But what does that have to do with cutting conversations? Okay, so let's say there's a conversation between 2 different people that we're cutting, and everybody was mic'd separately. Everything happened in the same location, which means all of the ambient noise is constant throughout the entire conversation. Well, when you cut the video, you're gonna hear a difference in the ambient noise between each different line because there were 2 different mics, and also because there'll be a break in that constant sound source. Okay, makes sense, but you know, what's your point? Well, if you take some ambient noise or some Foley or some sound effects and you put them underneath that conversation, even if it's just at the cut points, you're really gonna smooth out that sound and make everything sound a little more natural. Yeah, I get it. Nice. Okay, so where would you get this Foley or ambient noise? Honestly, the best place to get it is just on location. Record 10 seconds of room tone or ambient noise before or after you shoot the conversation, and then when you get into the editing process, you can just put it where the cuts are in the footage and it'll smooth everything out. It'll be great. But you know, if you don't have that, you can always go to a place like Artlist or Epidemic Sound. And yes, before you ask, they will be linked in the description. Nice. So how are you gonna end this thing? Well, I was thinking I could mention how a good conversation is nothing without a good story to back it up, and then push people to go watch my storytelling video, and then, you know, remind them to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if they want more tools, tips, and tricks that'll make them a better video editor. That could work. Yeah. So what do you think of the video idea? I think it's great. Oh, really? Yeah, it's absolutely a great idea for somebody else, because your videos are stupid. Oh, son of a...